Well, hello and welcome back to Stand Up Your Tubes, where we control the tubes and the tubes never control us. So I have another adorable monkey to go in the monkey playlist. It'll be a capuchin monkey, and this looks like a little sock monkey because of the yarn that I picked and the way it's put together. And he's sitting right back here. He's also going to be in the posable creature list, although posable is optional. So let me grab him. As you can see, he's got his hand up to his face. Not even sure he wants to make this debut. And that's because we have bendy curlers in the arms and in the legs. And an adorable little tail, cute little monkey butt. Just cute in every way. But if you decide that you want to make it without bendy curlers, then yours will just be more like a typical stuffed animal. So I hope that you will make the little monkey that is just so cute with the little monkey tail. It can stand or it can sit because it's posable. So cute. When we want it to sit, we just bend the legs up. If we want it to contemplate, we bend its arm up. And that is the next monkey in the monkey playlist and in the posable creatures playlist. How cute is that? So adorable. So I hope that you will stay tuned for the tutorial, that you'll like, you'll watch, you'll subscribe. That's how you can help Margaret's house, who presents the Stand Up Your Tubes. And we're a restoration center for women in crisis. God bless you, and thank you for liking, subscribing, and watching. Okay, well, let's talk about our tubes. So first of all, I love this yarn. I liked it because I thought it would look like an animal once it was cranked out. And it's called Married Mocha. And the color number name is 722. It is 252 yards. And when I got to the head, which was going to be 50 rows, I had to do the last 5 rows in my second skein that I had bought. So we're going to use the 22 pin for the body and our 46 or 48 pin for the head. So for arms and legs, they're going to all 4 be the same on the 22 pin. And we're going to make them 45 rows so that my little creature has long arms and legs. These arms and legs will be a little bit different than the Nixon and the 3-tube doll. Totally optional will be bringing out our bendy curlers. And this one, I used black magic marker on it because it was going under black and I could see the purple through it. I ended up not using it, so that's why it's odd looking. So these are our bendy curlers, and I'll measure them here in a minute. But totally optional is putting them into the arms and leg tubes. And that's why these are 45 rows long, because that fits the curler. And then we'll be able to just kind of pose our arms and legs. And I kind of like that idea. But if you don't, you can gently stuff out the arms and the legs. So we have an 80-row body tube and 4 45-row leg tubes. So before we talk about the other ones, let's talk about putting these together. This is a very stretchy yarn. I love the way it feels. It would be great for a beanie if you were having trouble with your beanies feeling too small. I think this has a lot of stretch to it. So for the arms, this is our option. We're going to have little hands. So we're not going to cinch the end with the hand up all the way. So I'm going to put 3 fingers under here and just take out the slack. There I go. It's pretty tight around my 3 fingers. If you're going to use the bendy curlers, then you'll put it in right now, and we'll just mattress stitch this closed around the bendy curler, starting up at the shoulder and coming down towards the hand, but not all the way, because we'll do it to about right here, and then I'll show you how we're going to do our little hand. there's a lot of give here. It's the bendy curler's not filling it up. So I'm going to pull my mattress stitch closed up to the top of the arm here. And I am going to add stuffing. Just going around the curler to fill it up, but not to overstuff it. So kind of like that. You can see how it's getting a little bigger, just going around that bendy curler. If you don't have a curler in there, then you're just stuffing it out until it's pleasant feeling, but you're not stretching out your stitches. So I'm going to just keep mattress stitching up every inch or so and adding a little stuffing until I get about 3 fingers from the end. And then I'll join you back. Here is my finished arm and paw pad. I wanted to just be able to show that to you and how it just looks so cute that way. So I went 3 fingers from the end and stopped because basically that's our wrist. So here's our 10-row tube, and mine isn't just cream colored. It actually has a little bit of a yellow cast to it, which I really liked, so I went with it. So we're going to end up wrapping this around the end of our, I'm going to just pull this off to the side. I had to loosen this up just a little bit to get it to go around the paw. So maybe we'll go around 4 fingers instead of 3. But it was easy to loosen it back up. Laid the paw pad on the inside of the arm. I'm going to put the needle on my cream now and close it up right around the end of the tube so that there's an overlap. You could probably save time by having 2 needles out. Okay, so I'm going to just take a stitch here to close it up around the end of our bendy curler. If you don't have a bendy curler, you're still going to do this. You just will have stuffing and no bendy curler. Okay, and then I'm going to mattress stitch down. So I'm just going to go 2 bars and 2 bars. And then leave your yarn hanging there because we're going to do something with it. It's only 10 rows, so it just takes a minute to get to the end. All the way down. This one's down. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pull the mattress stitch to close it up, especially right here at the wrist. And make sure I have the same amount coming out on both hands. So by the time, what you're going to do is to get a nice clean look, when you stitch this on, you're not going to use your cast on or cast off row. You're going to come back a stitch, and that's going to roll that under and give you a really nice edge. So now I'm going to go back to my mattress stitch coming down my arm with this overlapping. I'm going to finish mattress stitching it up. I'm not going to add any more stuffing because that's the wrist. Coming all the way down to the end. Make sure I have some overlap here on my hand. I'm pulling that mattress stitch snug. Snugging this up. This is our pull cord. Just snugging it up somewhat here. I'm going to tie a knot and then stitch around my paw. Okay, we'll take care of the end here in a minute. So they're going to be about the same. Okay, just pull this out of the way. So I'm going to pick my rows where the V-stitch is pointing towards this open end here, or they can go the other way. Either way, doesn't matter, but that's how we're going to keep track of where we are. Then I'm going to come back, and these happen to be, it's really hard to tell with this yarn, so they're both pointing that direction, the tip of the V-stitch. Then I'm going to come find my next stitch pointing that direction, come into my arm, go into the next one, staying back off my cast on or cast off row. And when you get around all the way around, it should be a perfect match because they were both made on the 22 pin. Okay, and then you can see when you pull this, how it just really neatens up this end. So I'll just pause the camera for a moment till I get around and we're getting ready to shape our paw. Alrighty, so I made it all the way around and I'm going to tie these two brown ends off together. And snug it up. That's its wrist. And bury them up this way. Then to get this cute little paw shape, I'm going to pull the end of the paw beanie shut. This is the one I mattress stitched this way on, and I'm going to do a single tie here after I've cinched up the end, closed up that opening. One single, and then I'm going to start pulling on it so that I'm causing the paw, and I'll put my finger in here to help it, to come over so that we have a little shape to it and it's not just sticking straight out like this one is. It just makes it curve over a little on the end. It's a cuter look. So that's what I'm going for here. And these are really long, so I'm going to tame them down a little bit and shorten them. Tie them together a couple times so they're secure. And bury all these ends. Bury this into the cream and these into the brown. Okay, everything's buried. So if you have a bendy curler in here, just to make sure it stays up here in the arm and doesn't work its way down into the paw, just take a piece of your matching yarn here. I'm just going to come in right here up towards the edge. Just leave my tail hanging because I'm going to tie off to that in a minute. I'm going to just close this up a little bit by just sewing across, up and down, to hold that bendy curler up there. Going to come back across. So I'm back where I started. Okay, so it's show and tell. Here is our bottom leg with a nice little paw pad on it. We're going to mattress stitch up, leave it open at the top, so when we apply it to the body, we can spread this out and have like a haunch instead of just a skinny leg hanging off. So count down 10 rows and mark it with a bobby pin. Don't snug it up. Leave it open at the top for now. So counting down 10, not hard to do. And if you come 11, it doesn't matter. So I'm going to have to put my glasses on. It's hard to count with this yarn for some reason because of the color variation. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I'm going to start sewing from the toe up and just stop when I get to my pin. So put a little knot here, then start mattress stitching up. You either have a bendy curler in here or you do not. Your choice. If you do, you'll stuff around it so that you'll get something like this. And then I'll show you how we're going to put the paw pad on. So put a little knot here and just mattress stitch up, lightly stuffing either the entire leg or around your bendy curler. And I'll join you back when I get up to right here. When I got about 10 from the end here, I went ahead and tied a little knot here, just like I did in this one. And we're going to attach it to the monkey soon. And we'll be stuffing out our little haunch area. So when you pull the mattress stitch, it's probably going to pull your beanie pole up a little bit on the foot, but it's not going to matter because we're going to have it hidden inside this little paw pad. And remember, it was 20 rows. So we're going to do it like a beanie, turn it in on itself. I'm going to shorten these yarn tails because I'm going to snug it up really good, tie them off, and then just turn this the other way. So a good 3 stitches. I mean, 3 knots, and flip it over. Now this is going to become the paw pad. And because we want the illusion of toes coming forward, and we're not going to stuff it out, we're just going to leave it loose. You could stuff it if you want to, but it would kind of make it a fat paw. I kind of wanted to sew it down and give it toes, or the look of toes. So bear in mind that this mattress stitch coming up this way goes against the body of your creature. So we want the foot to come out this way. We want to keep in mind which way our mattress stitch is. So with the end of the leg tube pushed all the way into this, which is going to be the toe, going to get a piece of yarn, not this one, but a new piece of yarn, and sew around. And when we get around towards the side, like we're getting towards the front, we're going to start cinching that toe up a little bit. Okay, so here it is, our mattress stitch, imagining this right up against the body. So here's our back. So I'm going to come around to the inside, right here to the inside of the leg, and I'm going to start sewing there by tying a knot right onto the leg and leaving a yarn tail to tie off to when we get back around. So there we go, just a double knot. Doesn't matter where this starts, it's where we start sewing our leg. So we're kind of right here on our mattress stitch because that's the inside of our toe, of our leg. So here we're going to just, with our beanie folded in half, pick up a stitch right here. Go to the next one on our leg. So whichever way they're pointing, it's really even hard for me to tell on this yarn, but I can see my rows. So I'm going to match them up the row on the foot to the row on the leg until I get around to the other side at about the same point we're at right now on the inside. So just working around. You might want to just put it down on the table every now and then to make sure you're keeping your leg in the toe. Maybe we should be calling it a foot instead of a toe. Okay, so I'm going to just snug this up. And that'll give a nice look and stitch going around there. And when I get right back around to here, just so it's not quite so long, I'm going to just take these last few stitches, get back onto the side here, and I'll show you how we're going to close up the toe. Okay, so this is where I started, this is where I ended, and what we're going for is just pulling this up towards our leg. So I'm going to accomplish that by going over a row and under a row on my little foot, and then coming back up onto the next row on my leg, and snug that up. And then I'm going to go over a row, under a row, snugging that up, back up onto my leg until I get it closed up. Over row, under a row. Just keep looking at it, and you'll see it starting to close up. And then you'll pull it forward like this, and you'll have your little foot. This is here because there's such a big glare on the table from my overhead light. So going back onto my row, on my leg, and over a row and under a row. You can even come back on your leg in the same stitch if you need to. So you can tighten this up and snug it. Okay, so over a row and under a row, just about around. See how it's just closing the little paw up? And that's what we want. And I'm right back around pretty much where I started now. And I want to make sure that I get that last row on my foot here. So I'm going over and under, over a row and under a row, and that'll close it up. Bringing that up to my leg, right on top of where I have my yarn here, but I want to have it in my leg and not in my paw pad when I'm snugging it. And just let that loose, snug this up all the way around, and you should have a little paw right here. So I'm going to tie this and bury my yarn ends, and we'll make our little body and attach our arms and legs. So I'm going to triple knot just to play it safe. And when we come back, we'll put our body tube together and sew on our little arms and legs, and then we'll work on the head. All right, we're going to work on the body, and this is our longest tube. So when you are mattress stitching down to close it up, you want to stay in the same row. So you might take your bobby pin, and if you decide you're going to start in a row, and I want to be able to pull from that middle of my tube and not be starting to sew right on where my pull cord is. So I have those rotated. So if I decide that I'm going to start with this row here, where the end of my point, like the tip of a heart, is shaping that way, is going that direction, follow it around all the way down. And here it is. And now when I bring it up this way to start sewing, you're going to notice that the points on this one are going this direction. That's because they came around and changed directions. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that out and just start on my very first stitch right here, right into the cast on. I come down here right into the cast on, just leave myself a yarn tail and start mattress stitching down till I get all the way to the end. So it's just 2 bars and 2 bars. And when I get down to the end, we'll just tie it off. Then we'll come back up and we'll stuff it out. So I have a new supply of stuffing here. And this is still a loose mattress stitch on both ends. And we have our 2 pull cords. So you'll have 4 yarn ends up at the top of your tube here. So let's start stuffing. And when we get a nice little stuffed out body shape, and I am going to put quite a bit of stuffing in it, I'll join you back so you don't have to watch me stuff. But we're going to be putting our legs on like this. It's going to be cute. I don't know why. I just wanted it to be kind of tall and lanky. Okay, I'll join you back in just a minute. I have my body stuffed, but not all the way up. I'm just wanting to get it stuffed down here in the bottom where the leg goes. So I have my leg here and I'm stretching my tube up over my bendy curler. Bendy curlers all the way down into the bottom here because that's where the bottom of the tube is. So I'm going to snug it up a little bit now around the top here so that it's starting to curve around the top of my curler. Like this. So now we've got it snugged up as snug as we can get it. We have our stuffing in here. Here's where we mattress stitched up. And we want this to go right onto the end here. Right here. So this point goes right into here. And we'll be sewing and mattress stitching. Pick your row, the same one that you mattress stitched up in. We're going to come up over, come around the top by going into, when we start the curve, not into the row that is our cast on or cast off row, but come back an entire V-stitch and just bring it all the way around and leave yourself a little finger room right here where you can push some more stuffing up in it. So I'm going to take this thread here, and if you had a nice long piece of thread, you can definitely sew with it. When I get up to the top, I'm going to tie onto this, so I'm not even going to secure it for right now because I'm going to sew up here and then tie onto this and then continue sewing around. So here's my little point down here that's going to go right into the point where we stopped mattress stitching. Going to lay it right on here. Pick my row, just go one stitch first time. And pick my row to mattress stitch up in and start with my 2 bars. Get back in this row and go 2 bars. Back into here, 2 bars. Going straight up this row on the body because there's no curvature. You can just leave it laying down on the table like this until you're ready to get up to your curve here. And 2 bars. Pick your row and stay in it. 2 bars. We're getting up closer to the top here. 2 bars. Haven't made the curve yet. Okay, now we're really close to the curve, so let's do 2 bars on the body, and then let's snug up our yarn. All the way down to the point here. Okay. Going to keep my bendy curler in there. If you have one, make sure it stays inside. So here is the cord that I cinched up the top of the leg with. Make sure that's still snug. Coming around the curve now, so where your leg hits the body, that's where you're going to be sewing. And we're staying back off into the curve, into the good stitches. We don't want to be in our stitches that are wrapping around a cast on or cast off thread. Staying out of that row. I'm going to snug this up. Make sure that the top of the beanie's snug, and I'm just going to tie a knot here. And snug it. Now, if you think your yarn is too short, this is when you can switch to this yarn. It won't matter. Okay, and now we're closing this up a bit. we'll shape our paw pad a little later. So now we don't want this to go all the way over, so we're closing it up around our bendy curler, if you have one. Snugging it back up this way, and we'll keep sewing around the top. So I'm going to go into the next row where it touches the body. Come back, and you can go into a couple rows on your leg. That's perfectly fine. So I'm under 2 rows here, going back onto the body, and grabbing some stuffing is a good thing to do. I'm going to go under 2 rows on the leg, snugging that thread all the way up to here to where I tied off. Going into the next row where it touches on my body. And I can still go under a couple rows until I get back to where I just don't want to miss any, because I don't want a gap, to where I'm touching my body again. And then I'm going to mattress stitch straight down. Snug that up around the top, and see how nice that just snugs right up. Okay. And I'm going to mattress stitch straight down till I meet my starting point. Two rows. You don't even have to pull it together until you're all the way down. I'm on the edge here of this. See, here's the stuffing in here. So in a minute, I can see if I want to add some more stuffing. Feels good on the top here. Might add just a tiny little bit right here up against the body, just a little bit in here. But this feels nicely padded. Two more bars, and this is almost closed up. This is a very forgiving yarn. I don't even know if it would be visible if you jump to another row or not, because visually it's just jumbling up my eyes. And here we are, closing up. And come back up onto the front of my body tube and just take another stitch here. And that's what we have. A nice little hip on here. We'll do the same thing with this paw pad. And then we're going to have a nice looking little hip, sturdy little legs. So just start this one the same way. Just put that V right down into here, and then just when you get up to here, make sure you've cinched it up around your bendy curler. If you don't have a bendy curler, just gently curve the top. So when you're stitching, you're coming around and staying off of this cast on row. You're going to come back a stitch or two so that you get a nice stitch showing. And here it is, just like this. So I'm going to go ahead and tie a knot here and do the other leg, and I'll join you back and we'll work on our arms. Ready, so we have the legs on, and these are the toes facing down. So let's add a butt. So I'm zoomed in kind of close. So our monkey has a a butt. So this is a 27 row tube, and I'm just turning it in on itself, and we're going to shape it by bringing it together. And with this yarn, it closes up pretty easily. So we're going to close this up, but we'll be sewing a tail on. So here we go. Now, we have control of how we're going to shape this. So right now it's a beanie, and if we gave him a butt, wouldn't that look ridiculous? So we are going to just roll it so that most of it is inside here, and that even helps to stuff it out. And we can shape it. So let's place it down onto our monkey. And if we're going to sew the tail on, we can have this, can you see where the threads come out? That doesn't have to be right down at the bottom. It's going to be where we sew our tail on. So, like right in here is the tail. So it would be coming out right about here. So that's where we can have that beanie point. So let's just roll it up, shape it out, have it in between the legs here, like this. I know it's hard to see where it is, but here are where the draw cords are coming out. And where do we want our butt to be? I think about right there. We'll bring it up onto the back a bit. And then we're going to come in, we'll start sewing around the back of the haunch right here, come up around the top, mattress stitching it, a lovely mattress stitch. Then we can actually put our stuffing in. So we have our, if I turn it over, you can see that the bulk of the beanie's right here. So let's start sewing right up over this hip. And when we get up over this hip right here, we'll push stuffing down in here, and that's going to give our monkey a butt. So when it's sitting, it isn't just flat straight down. So I have a needle and thread ready to go. I'm going to just start right here, match up your row. When you come down on the back of your leg, just sew it right along the leg here. It should be pretty much in the center of the legs at the bottom here. Come up the side, and we'll leave this much open. We'll put a little stuffing in there and close it up. So here's my opening right here, and I'm just going to stuff out his little butt just a little bit to give it a little shape. So now he has just a little bit of a butt. It'll look better when we sew the tail on, which is right here, for him to have a little bit of a bow tie. And when we finish sewing it up, it'll just disappear. I'll show it to you in a minute. So before you sew it up, sit your monkey down, see if you like your butt, if it rounds out nicely. Because I think that monkeys have monkey butts. I think that even though we have a nice thin monkey, that we want to have something to sit down on. So I'm going to just sew across and call it done. And then I'll tie off, and it's time to put the tail on. Okay, so our tail is 60, and I wanted to show you a little tip for doing the tail, so it's not so fat. So if you were to roll your tube into the center like this and to mattress stitch, you can make it thinner by, here's where you would be mattress stitching on the end if you folded it right in half. Come back a row on this side, come back a row on this side, and just lay it down like this, so you'll be actually mattress stitching over here into this row. Here's the edge of it over here, and then coming back a row over here. You can just lay it down, and you're coming in here and here all the way down, and when you pull it, it'll just roll it right in on itself and narrow that tail right down. So take your tail, 60 rows, and mattress stitch it. So basically, it's just an easier way of rolling it in on itself. because you don't have to roll it until you start pulling your mattress stitch. And if you want to give your tail just a little curve on the end, here's a tail I've done, then you can pull that mattress stitch just a little bit so that you're drawing the tip of the tail up. And it'll just give it just a little bit of a character. So get your tail done, and then we'll come back and attach it. When you get mattress stitched all the way up to the top, pull your tube together. Make sure the inner tube and the outside tube are kind of together, just like you were doing a beanie top, and pull that shut. Then take your mattress stitch and give it that extra pull. And on this side, when you start mattress stitching, if you don't tie a knot, you can pull from both ends. So I can actually pull my tail up from this end to give it that little curve I want. Make sure this end of the beanie's closed up nice and neat, and sew these together a little bit long. Tie my knot, bury my threads, triple knotting. Now I have a little curve on the end of my tail. Make sure that this is closed up good. And I can tie these together and keep a long one for sewing the tail onto the monkey. And I keep one long enough right here to tie off to. So I'm going to sew around with the long one, and when I get all the way around, once or twice, whatever it takes, then I'll have this one hanging here to tie off to, and I'll bury both the threads. Hold it over that, set it down, make sure it's not going to be like underneath it so much that it tilts it forward, that it's on the edge of the table, so to speak, when you have it sitting down, and just sew around it once or twice, and I tie off to the little short cord you left, and your tail will be on. And that concludes putting the monkey butt and the tail on your monkey. Okay, we're at the part where we're going to do the head. And I'm just going to sit my little guy up right here, push the arms back. I'm going to use these great big eyes again, same one I used on my capuchin monkey. This time I'm going to put a blue behind it. And I think because with these particular eyes, this is so big, I don't see it pulling through the yarn, so I'm not going to put a backing behind it. When it's a really small backing, I'll put felt behind it and be more worried about it. So make sure that you like how much stuffing you have in here. You need to have 4 yarn ends. This is the one we're pulling with. These were the ones we mattress stitched with, coming up this way and this way. We can start closing this up and tie all these together. Closing up, having 4 yarn ends. Making sure that our mattress stitch is up all the way. And that we're closed up, coming up both directions. And we can start tying them together. I'm not going to really pull real hard on these because the head's going to be sitting down on here. It's not the top of a beanie that we're going to be wearing. So these two are together. These two together now. Just gently tying it. Now I'm going to tie these together. And I think we're secure. All right. Now the head is going to be really typical. We're in the second skein of yarn at this point, of course. So to not even the tail, but just the arms, the legs, and the body tube took up one skein, and then about the last 5 rows of the head. So this was on the 46 pin. So all of this, except for 5 rows on the head, came out of one skein. Then the tail, plus the 5 rows that I had to get into the second one. Then the tail is coming out of my second skein, and we're going to need to have our ears, which won't take very much at all. So here's our head, the 50 rows. I've just turned it in on itself and brought both yarn ends to the outside. And I'm going to then go over, under, over, under. I'm going to stuff from this end because once you cinch this up, even though I still have a hole here, and I like that because I can put some stuffing in with my finger if I want to fine tune it. So now I'm going to take a piece of yarn, making sure that my beanie's folded in half, and I'm going to go over, under along the top edge here so that can be closed up, and I'll do that off camera. So I know that we're intermediate, that's why I don't show you how to crank out these tubes. So I know you know exactly what I'm talking about bringing the ends. My dogs are just going crazy out there. And just going over a row, under a row, over a row, and under a row until you get all the way back around. And I'll join you back. And I'm back, and I have the top ready to be closed up. I still have a little opening on the bottom down here. I'm going to stuff it out because I just want to have a nice big head on my creature. So this is just a loose stuffing because we're going to have to place the eyes. And this is to help us get our shape. And the reason I want this to be the one that I'm pulling while I'm stuffing and arranging the eyes and whatnot is because it's really easy to get this one to come undone. It is not easy down here to get this to Once you've snugged it up, it's hard to get it to come undone. So we're going to do it from up here. This is going to be a nice stuffed out head that'll sit right on top of our monkey and just look so cute. And we need to have our snout. So that is going to be, for me, just using a little monkey picture like this. The face is white, so I'm going to have my creamy yellow for a snout. And I'll give you the row count. Now, remember, the head is just 50. It's 25 and 25 pulled inside. That's a pretty standard size for a nice round head. So I'll come back with the snout, and we'll talk about how we're going to line that up on here and put a little nose on it, position our eyes. We're getting near the end. Okay, so this is 27 rows, and it's the cream that matches the rest of the monkey. Not quite a beige. I like it that it has a little, almost like a little bit of a golden glow to it. So we're going to do it like a beanie, and I know it seems awfully big, but I'm going to show you why I like to do it this way. It was just one of those coincidences where you make something too big and then find out that it worked out really well. So this is going to be the nose. So I'm going to snug up the end of the beanie. As much as I can. Give this a good double or triple knot and really cinch it up, but not enough to break the thread. So 3. And then I can just turn it, snip these off. Now, why did I make the nose so big? And this piece of paper the glare is just pretty bad on my table right there from my overhead light. Okay, so what I discovered, it was just a happy coincidence, is that if I made it bigger than I needed it, so here's my head. This is where it'll go onto its shoulders. So I want to have its face down here. Well, this is sticking out too far. It's almost going to look like a little horse. But if I roll it in, I can have total control of it. If I just roll it in on itself a little bit, then I can control how big it's going to be. It gives me a nice solid edge because it's folded over, so it's not a thin edge that can move around, so I can get my shape. And on this monkey, I want it to be oblong so that it comes across like this instead of just like a horse that would be perfectly round. And that's not a good picture of it. Let's see. Oh, it's this little guy right here. See how it comes wide and comes around? Well, that's the shape that I want to give to this monkey. So as you can see here, I can just fold it in on itself, get exactly the shape that I want. I'm not sewing on a floppy edge, so I can just work with it, shape it, and then when I put it on, I can have the shape that I want. And so I want to make sure, since I have to sew the neck on, that I keep the bottom of that at least a couple fingers up from here. Then I'm going to have these great big eyes, so I'm not going to stick an eye through right now, but I'll take the backing because it's about the same size, and I want that to be, sorry, right up on top of my nose. So I think that that's going to work out pretty good. So if I like this shape, and it just sits on here so easily so that all you have to do is sit it down on here and then just sew around. Make sure you get under every single row of your snout, every row. So pick which row, whether your V-stitches are going to point this way or if they're going to point up, and make that your every row you want to get under. Every row, every row, every row, all the way around. You'll probably start like right under here, work around, and then if you want to put a little bit of stuffing in there, you can. The way that we're rolling it under, it's pretty sturdy the way it is. So I'm going to get a piece of my cream colored yarn and starting right about here, sew around with my shape the way I like it, which is elongated this way, leaving room for the eyes to go in up here. And I'm going to go get my thread because I didn't bring it over with me. So I'll just sew a couple stitches on with you. So I'm just going into my head. Just going to leave this tail loose. I can snug from both ends that way. So I'm going to come up here and just go into my first row, and my V-stitch happens to be pointing down towards my head. Just going to go under another row on my head, and the next row on my snout, working my way around. And you know, you've cinched it up into a beanie, so you'll, wherever your snout is touching on your head, that's where you'll go in. So I'm going to just snug up just a little bit. Now I'm on to a smoother area. But if I roll it open, you can see where all of this is coming together. So I want to go into those, open it up. Okay, coming around. Getting under every row of my snout. Snug it up. And you'll want to lay it down and make sure that you're still happy with the shape of it. And by rolling the edges under, you have something really sturdy to work with. So I can just bring it around now and just keep going into my head wherever it's touching. Come up here, into my snout. Come into my head where it's touching. Back into my snout, not skipping a row. And then snug it up every so often. And bring it back down and take a look at it. Still looking good. Then just hold it down onto your head and come around the top. So it's most important that you don't miss a row on your snout than it is what's happening on the head, because that's how you avoid the puckers. Okay, I'm going to snug it up and take another look. That's how we keep it. That's how we keep it going right. Okay, and then when I get down around to the bottom where I've left a little opening here, I can use my finger to work a little stuffing up into that snout just to round it out a little bit. Okay, coming back around and back into my head. So it's about backing up, taking a look, sew another 5 or 6 rows, take another look. Snug it up. And I'll join you back when I get around to the bottom here, but not completely around because I'm going to pop a little stuffing up there. I have a little opening under here, and I'm just going to gently put in a little bit of stuffing to shape that face. Both of these are free agents. They haven't been tied. We can snug with them. I think that's probably pretty good. So just come on around and close it up. Tie the two ends together, and we can position the eyes. Okay, there's our little snout. I'm not even going to tie this yet till I'm completely happy with my little snout. Okay, so now when I put it on my monkey, I can press it in. Okay, so now it's time to think about where the eyes are going to go. And I want them right on top of my nose. So let me bring that down here and get something, keep it from rolling. Maybe this little pair of sunglasses that might end up on this monkey. You never know. Okay, so it's going to be really easy to line these eyes up because they're going to sit right on top of the snout. They're nice and big. There we go. It's going to be so cute. I love it. So nice, big, huge backings on them. So I'm not going to reinforce, but I'm going to take this bow out that I tied on the top here so I can loosen this back up and pop this back on. And these are, I want to make sure that post is through both layers. Right now it's not. These are a little difficult to press on, and I don't have very strong hands. Might not be hard for you at all, but for me it takes a little bit of an effort. Okay, and now the next one. I like how big the backs are. Really like that. Some of my eyes have tiny, nicey little round backs on them that I know can pull right through the yarn. Okay, so back in with the stuffing. I'm going to go back in with a bow up here till I'm sure I'm happy with the amount of stuffing and everything that I have up there. And so we're going to need ears. Here's our monkey's face. And when we get the nice rounded ears on there, it's going to look even more like a monkey, especially when we get these nice long arms on. It's going to look like a sock monkey without the socks this time. Capuchin monkey got socks. This monkey's not getting socks. So I love the eyes. I love how big they are. And so we're going to next deal with the ears. But I think we'll put the ears on before we sew the head on. All right. Here is an ear. So I started with my body color and did 10 rows, switched to my creamy color, did 7 rows for a total of 17 rows, then cinched it up like a beanie, and I have one here that I haven't done yet, brought them to the back side and tied them 2 or 3 times till they were nice and secure. And I'm going to take my creamy color back to the front and just take a stitch across here so I don't see the little opening right here. So just right across and tie a knot. And that's all it took to make that go away. So I'm going to just bury this and snip it off. This is a nice big monkey ear. Nice and round to go on. So here's the one that I haven't done anything with. So I tied the 2 ends together where I changed colors with a triple knot, shortened it down. Then you're just going to pull on your yarn tails. This one. Closing it up. Already have the yellow through to pull it in. And just closing it up nice and neat. Pulling it together so you have a nice, as closed up as you can get that. And then we'll just, after we put a nice double or triple knot on here, pull that yellow back through to the front side and take 1 stitch and close up the little opening there. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, and bring it through just like we did on the first one, and take that stitch and bury the end. Okay. Once across, and a single knot because it's already been knotted on the other side, and pulling it through and snip off the end. We have 2 nice round ears. I just give that a little pull, that'll go to the inside. Monkey ears, that is so, in my opinion, that is so cute. monkey ears. So now it really is your choice if you want to sew your monkey ears on now, or do you want to put it on top of your little body and then sew your ears on? It's really just your choice. So at this point, let's make sure that we have our head nice and stuffed, that we're happy with it. We just have a bow here. Now on the other side over here, I went ahead and tied it off several times, shortened one of my strings that I was pulling with and tucked it into the hole here and left this nice and long to sew with. On the top of the body, I buried all four of those threads because I know that I'm sewing with this nice long thread right here. So if you think your head has enough stuffing in it, you're happy with the shape and everything, then go ahead and close it up. And we're going to have to sew it. It's not going to close all the way up. So get it as snug as you can. And at this point, whatever you do, don't break the yarn. But if you did, this is not the one we cast off or cast on with. We would just have to do over, under, and over, under again, wouldn't we? Okay, so when we get through with the end here, we'll go ahead and go around the hole one more time with one of these long yarn ends, and then we'll go across it a couple times, probably this direction, and get that nice and closed up. So I'm going to take my needle and thread it up. And just go through here, picking up as many of these stitches as I can. Right on the edge. Then we'll snug it again, and then sew. This won't close it up very much more, but it will make it a little more secure at the top up there. Okay, so I can get a little bit more cranked shut on it. Just hold it right there and go ahead and tie another knot. So that closed up more than I thought it would. I'm going to triple knot it. Oops. My thread is unwinding on me. Not want to go through the needle. Okay, so now I'm just going to close this up by going across maybe 3 times. Usually doesn't take too many. That's 2. It's 3. Try not to split threads when you're coming through. So that looks already fairly well closed, doesn't it? So I'm going to come up here to where I started, get to the other side. So I'm on each side of the opening and tie these together, and that closes the head. Completely closes it. And let's bury the yarn. I'll do that off camera. And we'll talk about the ears, how we're going to sew them on, either with it on the monkey, the head on the monkey, or the head off, irrelevant. Alrighty, since my project is tall and my camera's overhead, I decided to go ahead and put the ears on before I sew the head on. So now I have this yarn end right here. I'm just going to send it down to the edge where I want to sew, and I'm going to tie one little knot here so it's not drawing my ear up because I want my ear nice and round. So just a single knot. Do the same thing with this one. I'm going to place them on so that they're just adorable. I'm going to come straight down a row. So once I decide where I'm going to sew it, I'm going to just sew in one row going down. That'll make it easy to line it up. So I'm coming up kind of close to where we cinched the top up, like this. All right, so to turn it around to the back, pick my row to sew down into. Come down a couple stitches, going 2 bars into my head, just coming back up, picking a row up on my monkey's ear. That's 3, but it depends on where you started on your ear. I started in the middle of where I need to be sewing. So I'm going to just turn it around. I think that's far enough. I'm going to come up onto the front and come back up on the next row closer to me. So I'm sewing in 2 different rows. So I get a sturdy ear. Coming up on this row. Going into the color change row. And I think you get the gist of it. Just sewing it on. I'll sew it to about right here till it's nice and stable. Then come around the back, and I might go around a second time. I'm going to sew both my ears on and then join you back. Ears are on. They look cute. And it's time to sew the head on. So I have my long yarn here. Going to set it up on top of its neck. And when I sew around, I'm not going to sew right around on the point here. I'm going to come right down underneath his chin and be sewing like around in here so that I get a sturdy head. And coming down onto my shoulders also. Then we can put the arms on and do a couple of little finishing touches. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to start right here in the front by bringing my yarn that I'm going to sew with right up underneath my little snout here. Now grabbing the snout. Okay. And position it onto the body. And this is going to be hard for me to do on camera. It really is. But I'm going to center it. I'll probably go around a couple times. I'm coming down onto my body tube before I even start snugging it. Coming in up underneath my snout right here. Down onto my body tube a bit. So I don't have a bouncy wobbly head. And I can't stay up under here but for maybe a couple stitches, but you're going to want to put your needle in here and pull out these puckers. So that's how you're going to sturdy it up. And then come down. It's going to be rolling around on you, but you'll just persevere. Come up into here and pull out this. I'll call it like a pleat from snugging up the beanie at the end. And so I'm going to just work off camera until I get it sewn on, nice and secure. Go around as many times as you need. And remember, you're sewing down in here, not right up on the beanie, where we cinched it like a beanie. I'll be right back. While you're sewing, you're going to keep pulling out these puckers. That's how you're going to sturdy your head up. So I'm coming under my rows on my body and actually putting my needle in and pulling out where the indentation is. If you can get into both layers, even better. and then back out onto my body tube. Back, pulling out the indentation with my needle, pulling it out. Start snugging it up. It's a pretty heavy head, so I'm pretty sure I'm going to be going around a couple times. And the way we'll sturdy it is by, if the next time you go around, you might have to go even further out onto the head to stabilize it. So here's how it's looking. Pretty wobbly. We're only a fraction of the way around. So the next time I go around, I'll be sewing a little more up onto the head, a little more down onto the body, until I've squashed it down like this and it's stabler, more stable. Be right back. Here's my first time around, and it's actually a little more sturdy than I thought it would be. I have to admit, I love having the bendy curlers so that it can just sit down so reliably. But see how the head is pitching forward? So when I get back to the back, I'm going to pull this down further onto the body, the head, and that's going to control the tilt of the head. So I'm going to just keep going around the front without getting closer because we're right about how we need the front to be. Picking out these indentations and bringing them down. So the front, I'm just staying in the same track as I was in the first time around. And as I get a little bit more off to the side here, like about right in here, I'll bring it down a little more onto the back and meet you when I get all the way around. Okay, that's twice around. And you'll probably notice that when you were coming into the head, because it's a 46 to 48 and this is a 22 pin, that you're going under two full rows every time to one row here, two full rows. And that's what brings it down and gives you that nice neckline. Okie doke. So cute. Now it's time for the arms. So they're going to come right up here, find your shoulders, and your little paw curves in. So make sure you've got your mattress stitched to the inside. Oh my gosh, it's just getting so cute. So position them onto the shoulders and sew around. And because of the way you've got the beanie cinched up, you'll just come right around the top, staying off of the pull cord, your cast on or cast off row. Bring them up pretty much right up. Like here's where I sewed the neck on, just like a finger down. And that'll give it its shoulders. And then we're ready to just do finishing touches, because look how cute he is. Little tail coming around. Big blue eyes. We need to give it a nose and a mouth. Just a couple little finishing touches. All right. We're almost there. Okay, so just like I said I was going to, I sewed the arms on. Just left two fingers between the neck and the top, just sewed around, tied it off, lined it up pretty much with the leg right here so that they could come to the front. And I have my glue gun heating up, a little furry brown pom-pom that I am going to put right on the tip of the nose. Let me show you our picture again. Right here, a little brown. Going to put a little mouth on it. So here we go with the pom-pom. Whoops. Getting the best side forward. Right there. Just pushing it right down onto it. Don't use too much glue. That caught on my finger and strung out. But I'm going to just not mess with it, and I'll just snip it off with my scissors right here. There we go. Cute little nose. And I just got myself some black yarn going to do just a really simple little mouth going across right here. Nothing fancy. It looks so cute sitting here. So cute. Okay. So I'm going to just come in where the snout is sewn on. Where I think I might want my little mouth to start without splitting a stitch. Leave myself a nice long yarn tail there. Coming over right to here. I'm not even going to try to shape it. I'm just going to leave it just a cute little mouth going straight across. Coming right back where I came in. If I can find where I came in. Right here. Just a cute little mouth right there. And snug the ends up. That's my cute little face. I'm going to tie these together, bury the ends, and show you one more thing that we can do to wrap this up. Okay, this is completely optional, but if you have some fur yarn, and I always do, I just went to Hobby Lobby and stocked up again, you can put a little eyebrow up above each eye. So I like to have it longer than I need it, so I'm going to just cut myself off a couple pieces longer than I need them. Then I'll put my eyebrow shape above my eye and then just lay this into it. Do the other one the same way, and then I'll take my loom pick to press it into the glue because it's metal and I can take the glue back off. And they are not going to be that big, but I'm going to go grab my loom pick and we'll come glue them on and you can see if you like it. Okay, so here we go. Let's be brave. I'm even going to put my glasses on. Okay, I'm just going to lay a thin bead of glue right above his eye. Then grab the eyebrow on both ends and just lay it right into that bead of glue. And I can take my loom pick and make sure that that mesh is down in the glue. We'll cut the tails off where we didn't glue it here in a minute. There we go, and we'll let that dry. And then we'll have a furry little eyebrow. And be very careful not to snip into your yarn, but we'll just, that's already pretty well set. Snip off the end. So now it's shorter. Snip off this end. And just shorten this just a tiny little bit to shape it. And there we have a cute little eyebrow. I don't know if you can really see it, but it just adds a little extra something that is so cute. I think kids like the extra little embellishments. So I'm going to do the same thing on this eye. I have my piece of yarn right here that I'm going to lay down into that glue. And press down with the loom pick into that mesh that the fur is on. And when that's nice and dry, I'll trim it off and go to the beginning because now we have something to film for our beginning. So I thank you for watching. I hope you'll like. I hope you'll subscribe. I hope you'll actually watch the video so that we can get our watch time hours to be getting closer and closer to being funded by YouTube because they're going to play that advertising whether we're funded or not. So why not help us be funded? All right, God bless you. I'm going to go film the beginning now. You'll see his eyebrows all trimmed up and he'll be looking cute. All right, bye.